Chapter 2 of The Rise of Kylo Ren is now out, and again, I am loving this backstory about the fall of Ben Solo. So let's jump right into what happens in this issue, because there are some fun callbacks to the movies and potentially a huge foreshadow for what's to come for the future of Star Wars. So back in Elsewhere with Snoke, Ben Solo continues to contemplate his next moves after fleeing the Burning Temple, reflecting back on the Knights of Ren. Snoke believes this would be beneficial to his new journey. Snoke also states to Ben that he would no longer need to deny himself in the way Luke Skywalker required, further manipulating Ben. We also find out in this comic that Ben hates his name. He hates that he is named after Obi-Wan Kenobi, Old Ben, some random Jedi that he's never even known. Apparently, people expect him to live up to this reputation of this legendary Jedi, and to add to this self-loathing, he mocks his family name, telling Snoke that it's not even a real last name. It was just a lie, that Han Solo himself is a lie, everything around him is a lie. I found this fascinating, because I never gave much thought to Ben Solo considering the implications of his first name. I figured it was being in the shadow of Luke Skywalker and Anakin which made him stew with all this resentment and anger, but I loved the connection to Solo, a Star Wars story, with the fact that the family's name of Solo was given to Han from some random Imperial. It's meaningless. And through Ben's eyes, this all traps him in this familial lie. We also get our earliest glimpse at Snoke conversing with the First Order. He was being summoned by Brendel Hux, but let whoever was on the other side of the comm know that he was in the midst of a very important conversation. And Ben Solo has no idea who this individual General Hux is. When he asked, Snoke says that he has a lot of friends in the galaxy despite not being that social. And from here, Snoke dives deeply into his twisting of Ben Solo's mind, bringing back up the concept of lies, asking Ben what the truth is, asking Ben Solo what his true name is, telling Ben that the Knights will want him to take this true name if they let him join, telling Solo that it's the way of the dark side. It's how you come to know your truest self, or as Kylo Ren would actually say, what they were meant to become. Snoke oddly says that he wasn't even born Snoke, and that he became Snoke. And after seeing The Rise of Skywalker, I don't have any idea how I'm supposed to take this information. Am I being messed with? Is Snoke truly this autonomous being? Either way, whatever the hell Snoke is or was, he is disturbing as hell. Snoke makes Ben Solo remember that secret name that he called himself when he was a child. And arguably, this name was formed in his mind when he first met the Knights of Ren, as we will see. Snoke tells Ben to not take shame in that child name, that it's not stupid, that it's true, because it was a pure thought from a child's mind, that there was no self-deception. Snoke also tells Ben Solo that this true name he has represents what he wants to do, as well as representing the part of himself he wants to destroy. Snoke centers back onto the Knights of Ren, saying that joining their ranks is a step on the path to his truth, but that joining the Knights comes at a cost. Ben Solo doesn't care what that cost is and asks how to locate this gang. However, Snoke's test is for Ben Solo to figure out where they are. It's the only way to prove if Ben Solo is worthy of the Knights at all. And if he does find the Knights of Ren, he better not fail, or he will die. Now the comic jumps back in time to a mission with Luke Skywalker, Lorsan Tekka, and a very young Ben Solo. They are heading to a Jedi Outpost from the High Republic era on the planet called Elphrona. It's almost in the unknown regions, and this is essentially a relic hunt. As this is going on, we see that Snoke and young Ben Solo are communicating with each other, and it mostly seems harmless, but we know as the reader that Snoke is slowly twisting Ben Solo to the dark side. Ben Solo is bored, which is why Snoke reached out, sensing this boredom. Ben's reflecting on all the things he's not allowed to do, even though he thinks his master is an amazing teacher, but he never gets the opportunity to use the Force in any meaningful way, or at least that's what it seems like. And Snoke plays into that, saying that Luke thinks he is just a mere child. Right as this conversation is happening, Luke turns around, having arrived at the planet, telling Ben that he is glad that he came along. Perhaps Luke sensed something was off in Ben Solo himself. The exterior of this outpost on Elphrona is amazing. Again, I love this larger-than-life aesthetic for the ancient Jedi Order. Even The Rise of Skywalker hammed it up with enormous statues on Exegol. And if the rumors are true about the next installment of Star Wars taking place during this High Republic era, these kinds of locations are going to be wild to see on the big screen. Luke warns Ben to be careful as they enter this outpost, saying that it's always possible that any and all objects are traps, and Ben says that he will be careful. And when they walk in, it's full of Jedi and Sith relics. We see holocrons and a lightsaber rifle, But before the fun could continue, Ben and Luke sense something cold, and the Knights of Ren show up, most likely due to the fact that Ben Solo gave their exact destination to Snoke during their mental Skype chat. The leader, Ren, says that they will be taking everything from the outpost, and it's up to Luke how this all goes down. Luke rebukes, saying that this belongs to the Jedi Order, which for now is only Luke. And he gives a glance at Ben, which is a bit tragic to see. Luke can also sense the dark side in each and every single one of the Knights of Ren, saying that they will leave here with nothing but their lives. And the leader, Ren, thinks that Luke Skywalker is just a fool. Ben Solo actually yells out that Luke Skywalker is a legend, and he does this so passionately. So I'd say that in the early days between Luke and Ben, things were pretty much good. Ren releases the Knights onto Luke, which horrifies young Ben Solo, but Luke Skywalker is a legend, as we just heard, and he uses the Force as his ally to easily deflect each Knight of Ren. He basically embarrasses them. I loved this lean back move which he used, which was reminiscent of how he dodged his nephew's blows in The Last Jedi. Ren can't believe his Knights can't take out this old man, shocked at how powerful he is in the Force. And Luke Skywalker makes fun of them all, calling them clumsy, saying that they use the dark side like a hammer, but that he is like a blade in the light side of the Force. And I also love the panel of Lor San Tekka saying magnificent in regard to Luke's display of ability. And finally, Luke asks the Knights if they have had enough. At first, they think round 2 is a go, but Luke straight up uses the Force to destroy their weapons. And to be honest, this made me think of Darth Vader. It's one of the most badass things Luke Skywalker has done ever, crushing weapons with a gesture of his hands. The altercation ends between Luke and the rest of the Knights, but Ren steps in with his ignited lightsaber, except he's also turned on a kill switch, just in case Luke Skywalker actually tries to kill him. He's ready to take the whole place down, and Ren lets Luke have this win. He doesn't want to die. And before he leaves, he reminds Luke about what he said earlier, that he could sense that they all touched the shadow, and he points out matter-of-factly that Ben Solo has that shadow too, and that it's very powerful. Luke says nothing. Clearly, this is a point of contention Luke is not ready to deal with at the moment, something he is hiding from his nephew Ben, and he reminds Ren that it's time to leave. Ren finally removes his helmet to reveal that he's this kind of tough guy looking version of what Kylo Ren ends up being. In a sense, he oddly reminded me of this dark side Han Solo with his attitude and the way that he talked with Ben in these last couple of moments. Ren asks Ben flat out if he's sure if this is the life for him, the Jedi path. He tells Ben that there are other paths out there, and if he ever wants to try something new and to learn about his own shadow, to look them up. And he leaves his helmet behind as a calling card. And most likely, this was at the request of Snoke, who is playing the ultimate long game, knowing eventually Ben Solo will have a situation which will force him to return to this very place in the future and then join the Knights of Ren. And that's exactly what's happening. So once we're back from this flashback, Ben Solo is in this Jedi Outpost again, and there is Ren's helmet, and Ben Solo places it onto himself immediately, and he creates a connection with Ren himself. They start communicating through the mask. Ren is wondering if he would ever hear from the kid again, and Ben tells him that he needs somewhere to go, and that Snoke said maybe that they could help. At the mention of Snoke, Ren tells Ben to come to a place called Van Rack, which is located in the mid-rim, and they'll be there waiting for him for a bit. And this comic ends with Ty, Vo, and Hennix calling out Ben's name in the outpost. They followed him there, and their lightsabers are drawn, and they're about to engage in another battle. So that's it for Chapter 2. Again, I love what Soule is doing with the story of Ben Solo. I love the mention of the High Republic in this comic as well because of that current rumor circulating in the fandom, but most of all, I love how this story is really continuing to show us that Ben Solo was a man out of options and forced ultimately into a corner. Snoke's strange yet effective way of pushing Ben Solo to perform the very actions he hopes for has been very fun to see as well. I actually hope we get some EU or at least some more significant information on just what Snoke is, because even though I know he was made by Palpatine, there seems to be way more to it. And if I never get the answer, maybe that's honestly for the best. So I hope you enjoyed my recap and review of the Rise of Kylo Ren Chapter 2. I am loving this series, and I hope that you're loving it too. May the Force be with you. AT-AT is signing off.